everybody. This is Jose Orador Jr., your neighborhood friendly insurance agent, and this is episode number 5 of the Little Bit About Everything podcast. And this man needs an introduction, but for the sake of just doing it, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, my man. Go ahead and tell us what you do, what you're into, and of course, whatever you want to say. Go ahead, my brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on, Jose.
Of course.
My name's Eamon Keane. I am 25 years old. I live in Newton, Massachusetts. I grew up in Boston for part of my life and then moved out to Newton after my parents purchased another property and used their primary residence as a rental property. So got to see that side of things pretty early on in my life, and that's what piqued my interest. But I'm working on a wholesaling business now, and I'll be licensed as an agent come this fall. So I'll be working with EVO Boston, and that's about it for now. We got some fun stuff planned for the fall.
Absolutely. And before we, I gotta say, EVO Boston, you guys have some of the most, really great events. I think we mentioned earlier, but I've been to 2 of your events, and it has been really awesome networking and just really great to met a lot of great people, through those events, man. And so, big shout out to y'all, man. Kudos to y'all for, hosting some just really some crazy dope events, man.
Yeah, no, I just met these guys, and like I said on our earlier show, loud and proud. They know what they do well, and they do those things extremely well.
So speaking of which, so why EVO? Because again, I know you've someone that's getting into the real estate, per se. Although you've been in it for a little bit, but I'm sure you have a plethora of options, right? To choose a brokerage and who you want to be affiliated with. So why EVO?
Yeah, so I mean, it came down to a couple of different things. First, I'm a very open book. I'll tell anybody anything about what I'm doing, and I'll be completely transparent because that's just who I am.
Good business
And
practice.
when I went to some of these agencies and operations that are in development that know how to wholesale, that are selling properties on market like a traditional agency, they weren't really okay with me wholesaling. They weren't really okay with me sort of building my own thing. But really, my end goal was to collaborate and bring those things together. So EVO was really the first team that with open arms said, we love that you're wholesaling. We love that you're doing this. We're wholesaling. We're developing. We are doing property management. We are doing rehabs, flips. We're doing it all. We're trying to hit it all on all fronts. So that collaborative effort and really the values they have of doing great work and coming out there hungry. They got a young team. They got a very, very energetic team. So
They do.
So many things came together well, and yeah, it just seemed like a natural fit when I was talking to different agencies.
No, it definitely feels that way, man. I think culture, and I think you mentioned it. Culture is such a, it's such a big part of a company, right? And particularly now where things are a lot more in the open because of social media and things like that. The company's culture is synonymous with their ability to attract and retain, talent. And in your case, you're again, you're a great guy, talented professional. So I'm sure Evo, it's in his best interest to have a culture where folks like you can command and kind of expand on their brand, while at the same time building yours, which is obviously the most important thing. Now, so one thing that I wanted to ask you, kind of dive in a little bit deeper into kind of what you do. So what's wholesale? Because I know some people may be. I know myself. I'm not too too clear on what that precisely. What is that and how as it relates to like real estate and residential, all that good stuff. So can you kind of dive in a little bit deeper into that? Like what is wholesale, and why did you get into that side of the business?
Yeah, so there's different approaches to wholesaling in general. So you'll probably get different answers from people with different perspectives. The way I like to look at it is, it's a wholesaler is anybody that can build the bridge between a deal and an investor, with room to add value, force appreciation, or really, in a sense, make money. So often that comes in the form of residential properties with distressed owners that may not be able to handle the property, are in a situation they need to get out of quickly, or whatever that may be. The wholesalers coming in and making them an offer that they agree to, and also keeping in mind that the end buyer, most of the time, investors, contractors, developers have to make money too.
Mm.
So they cut out the headache, the legwork of finding deals, because if it was easy to find deals, everybody would be doing it.
People. Correct. Now, so from that standpoint, like where do you come in? Where does your expertise kind of come in to? Because I assume you are, for lack of a better word, the middleman or the facilitator, I should say, between the owner who's trying to perhaps get rid of a property for whatever reason, and then perhaps the investor. Or am I getting that correct? Or
Yeah, exactly. And we do operate as a deal facilitator because we, in a sense, found that deal, made a relationship with the seller, understood what they were going through, and incorporated the end buyer into our offer, and ourselves, because at the end of the day, we are running a business. So my background is in marketing and strategy,
Mm,
and I started a CBD company when I was 18. And I learned a lot about failure and success in those 3 years, being so young, working with friends. But really, I learned a lot about strategically setting up your business to service others. And the people that I'm servicing are investors. These are going to be people that I'm going to be ideally working with for a very long time. And the sellers of the properties, the people that I need to hear out, I need to understand their motivation and help them through this process, because more often than not, if you're buying a property at a deep discount off market, there's going to be a tough situation going on.
yeah,
It's not an ideal place that people want to be.
that's awesome, man. I'm glad that you kind of clear that up a little bit, because again, there's such a obviously real estate is so broad, in a way, and there's so many different avenues one can take. But usually, at least the one that I'm familiar with, either going to be a residential realtor or a commercial realtor. And I know a few wholesalers, not very many, but I never really got like an idea of what it is that you guys did per se. Now I know we touched up on it a little bit earlier on the other episode that we did, but so why the wholesale aspect of it? Because obviously a lot of, again, there are probably a whole lot more residential realtors and commercial realtors than they are wholesalers, right? And
Yeah.
so why? So why did you get into that specific side of the business?
Yeah, it really starts sort of with my background. I saw that my parents did so well with one rental property, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. From the moment I started my CBD business, I couldn't stop thinking about getting into residential real estate, commercial real estate investments, and it's sort of hard to do that when I've invested a lot of my time, my money, my energy, and resources into starting the company that I did. Things went well, but I didn't leave that company with a huge paycheck and with enough knowledge to just start investing in properties. So I wanted to find that bridge to fill the gap of my knowledge, start making money, and real estate wholesaling seems like a great first step. A lot of people sort of get, I guess, pushed into it online by gurus, coaches, whoever it may be, but it really is such a powerful tool, more or less, in this industry to use. And if you can do well in wholesaling and really build a strong network and a strong, I guess, history of what you have been able to accomplish, you can do well in real estate investing. So I wanted to use this as my starting point.
That's awesome, man. And it's really nice that you touched up on the with your parents, right? And how you saw them do their thing and the example that they set for you. and then you've taken that and expanded on it, of course. But it's awesome, man. I commend you because I like I said earlier, when I was 25, man, my mentality was a totally different one than a lot of 25-year-olds that I know nowadays, right? So, but that's good. That's actually an awesome thing, right? It's not a so kudos to you, man. Kudos to your parents. A big shout out to your parents, Mr. and Mrs. Keane. You guys did a great job. Yeah, so
I'll let them know.
so hopefully, I hope my kids will turn out as good as you, man. Now, in general, so what is your drive, Eamon? What drives you, and of course, what's your like your long term or even short term vision, on a personal level, and even and of course on a business level, and how do you plan to, you know, get to that place?
Yeah, so I mean, this has been such an important question for me, and it's so necessary to answer. And I think it'll always be changing. I think it's almost like a living organism. Like, what does my vision look like now? It's probably going to look very different in 10 years. But in terms of business, I really want to build an ecosystem of people, processes, systems, strategies that are achievable, attainable, that I can pass off to other people and provide them that value that I needed when I started. But in terms of my personal goals and mission, my drive, you know, I think a lot like everybody, it's this freedom. I worked a lot. I worked myself into the ground at 18. I struggled with many things in that time and process of starting a business that I never want to go through again. I really hit one of my lowest points after leaving my first business. We had accomplished great things, but it felt like failure in my eyes because I, in a sense, burnt out, gave up.
Yeah,
My motivator overall is really the freedom of my time to work on projects that I really enjoy without the stress of financials, without the stress of who's around me to help me complete these projects. And working with great people, value-driven people, people that I can really rely on and call family is going to be big for my business and my personal life, and that freedom to keep developing myself, because I see
yeah,
the more I invest in myself, my health, my physical health, my mental health, man, does my momentum start to build up. And we've, in the last few years, it really has seemed like this is starting to catch fire with people online because we're by nature, we're just trying to get through. We're trying to survive, do what we have to. But when you're able to flip the switch and start conditioning yourself to invest in your health, your mind, your body, your soul, that motivation, man, doors open up that you would have never even knew existed.
absolutely. No, man. At the end of the day, you gotta, we don't take care of ourselves in some type of way. We may have the world's greatest product, the world's greatest idea, the world's greatest, I don't know, whatever, but we don't take care of ourselves to some extent. Somebody else is gonna enjoy the fruits and of that idea or that concept or whatever the case may be. So that is that is a great point. And I think that once again, you are a superstar by every definition. But if you can, even if you continue to have that mindset, man, you're gonna do even greater things, man. So
Yeah, because a lot of us agents, wholesalers, whatever you may be, this sort of B2B sales, your business and your income relies on you. So
yes,
at the end of the day, if you're not taking care of yourself, how are you going to take care of a business, other people under you? So yeah, investing in myself, developing myself, I guess is really where this motivation comes from.
very good, man. I good. So you're like the wholesaler for your own, for your own, for you, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'm investing in myself at this
There you
point.
go.
Absolutely.
Now, so again, you and I met recently at a networking event, and it kind of leads to my next question. So, what are your thoughts on building relationships and like and expanding your network and how is that, since you have a, I don't want to say a niche type of thing, but you're in a different part of the industry that may require, a little bit more ground roots type of thing, right? So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on, building relationships and expanding your network per se?
Yeah, for a long time, I thought my success relied on my efforts, and that stems a lot from my start in business. I started a company, bootstrapping it, having to do a lot of the things that we had to manage: marketing, operations, sales, and I had to wear every hat, and it was a grind. It was a 60 to 80 hour grind a week while trying to go to college, which was a endeavor in itself. But really, the power of networking that I've found, it really does open you up to collaboration and experience so many different things. And I thought this business was so focused on the deals themselves, the money, the numbers, the spreads. Uh, but when I took this step back to finish out school and to restructure my business and really have a game plan going into this for the next 5, 10, 20 years, it all revolved around the people that I'd be working closely with in the long term. And that's not sellers. While they may result in some more deals, it's the end buyers. And those are investors. Those were people that I'm going to be interacting with. If I'm able to build a very powerful relationship with a high net worth, with a great network, an individual like that will be invaluable to my success and our success. If I'm able to feed off of his energy, his mindset, his knowledge, his experience, what will that do for my business, and what will that bring back for his business? So, even beyond just the investor, individuals like yourself, it's so critical to be meeting people on all facets of this, because at some point in time, I'm going to need that experience and knowledge. And I don't want to waste a second of my life, my time, my business, my energy, finding those people, finding good people that I can rely on. Because at the end of the day, this is not, an individual effort. This is a communal effort. I need these people involved in my life, and I need that ecosystem of people that I'm trying to build for so many different reasons. So networking is almost your key to success in this industry. If you're in my
Absolutely.
position, if you're getting started, you don't know what to do, people are willing to share this information with grace. You go to a networking event, people will start spilling the beans. You jump on a podcast with them, on a Zoom call, they'll tell you everything you need to know, you want to know, because your success really is their success at the end of the day.
Wow. Ah, man, yeah, you're legit, man. You you are definitely legit, man. You just dropped some really good bombs, some really great gems there, because you're absolutely right. A lot of times, of course, we're not a nonprofit. You know what I mean? We're in this business to, whatever facet of our business we're in, we're in it to make money. But the truth is, a lot of times we associate the value of a relationship solely by dollars, and the fact that you have the mindset that you don't want to just build a relationship. Just again, you obviously you want to make money, but you can feed off that person's energy, knowledge, or whatever the case may be. How is that going to then translate to for you to even grow your business? That's a great point of view, man. That is an awesome way to look at things. And again, for someone so young, this is mind blowing to me. That
Yeah, and it comes with trials, tribulations. Like, I didn't just sort of get to this point. It really took a lot of sacrifice, a lot of failure and time. So, for anybody getting started, whatever age they are, however, wherever they are in the process, it's not too late. I'm
absolutely.
meeting investors that are 40, 50 years old, that are, way ahead of me, or sometimes even right where I'm at, and they're invaluable to this community that I need around me to succeed.
You mentioned something just now, and this is not something that but you mentioned failure, okay? And of course, I respect everyone's point of view. I'm not here to say my point of view is better than anyone else's. But I'm so glad you mentioned that word because I don't know where I don't know where I read it. I really don't know, but there was a person that said that failure doesn't exist, just lessons learned. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. No, I mean,
I
there's
agree with
so
you.
much.
Oh, I agree with you. That's not true. But go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. In terms of business learning, this process, this investment in yourself into the game of, being an entrepreneur, whatever it may be, uh, there's no way to get into this and have a perfect at bat. You're never ever going to succeed unless you're willing to take imperfect action. And I struggled for so long because I was trying to perfect things. I was only trying to take very very safe routes with my business, and that didn't work. So in a sense, I did have many failures, but I like to call it failing forward, because at
Exactly.
the end of the day, I learned something invaluable. I tried to partner up with people around me. I tried to bring people into my business when maybe my partners didn't think we were ready, but that solidified in my mind that I needed those partners to succeed. I needed people in marketing. I needed people in operations. I needed people in management, financials, all aspects of the business to succeed, because that's not what I was good at. And in terms of failure, I guess the best way to avoid it is working with other people, learning
Yeah.
what your skills are, what you're good at, and focusing on those things, and building a team around you of people that can execute on the things that you aren't so good at. Had I known that, 5, 10 years ago, man, where would I be today? But it's all 2020 hindsight.
But you know what, man, and this is my again, this is where our perspectives kind of align in a way. You know, I totally believe in failure. Like the failure should hurt, it should suck, and it does, right? That's what failure is there for. And there's a so to me, when people say, well, failure doesn't exist, just lessons learned, or whatever acronym they want to come up with for failure, that's fine. But for me, there's a lesson to be learned in failure, right? If you don't go through that, through that pain of, like, your case, even though you're so young, you've compacted so many, especially in business, you've compacted so many different experiences in your own life, and whether you failed at that business or whatever, you made the wrong move here, wrong move there, whatever the case may be. The truth is that you learn from those things. Now, that doesn't mean that what you went through at that time sucked any less, or no, it still sucked. I'm pretty sure you were, and same thing happens with me. Same thing happens with everybody. But of course, there is a lesson learned in that, and then that's how we were able to then, progress. People call it evolve, right? And change as business people and just as people in general. But you have to fail in order to learn. I mean that, and I think trying to disassociate, failure from learning to have to kind of make ourselves feel better about the situation. Nah,
Yeah,
man.
no, I totally agree. And it, there's this connotation that people have that there's something wrong with these failures in business, that it's something to be disappointed in yourself with. It's something to be embarrassed about. But in reality, if you're able to muster the strength to get beyond, move past that failure, learn from it, understand it, observe it, understand that this is a temporary thing, because your body wants you to quit. It's
Absolutely.
business is never going to be easy. Building a big business is a resisted path. From a natural standpoint, we're not going to be comfortable all the time in business. And when you're able to get past that and get comfortable with things that are very uncomfortable, like failure, you start to move faster with more momentum. There's an energy about it that, feels unstoppable.
And to and to me, bro, and again, everything you said was completely, you know, true. I think that if we try to psychologically or perhaps subconsciously, um, if we try to avoid, like, if we try to avoid looking at failure for what it really is, we really are setting ourselves up for failure. You
Yeah,
know,
and people don't, that grit. I didn't understand the grit for so long that you need to have in this
damn,
business and every other business. But once I had somebody in my ring, my mentor, my friend, one of my managers here, uh, walking me through the process of failure, like, this doesn't affect us in any way unless you let it. This doesn't hinder our success. This is part of the process. And if you can get through this, man, what will you get through in the future, when you have 10 employees, 20 employees, 30 employees? Because, we're looking to grow at that pace inside
yeah,
of 1 to 2 years. So, business is centered around the individual. Like I said earlier, if you can't get through small failures, small losses, small hurdles, how is this going to work if you
yeah.
want 10, 15 employees running your business?
But to me, man, and you gotta fail fast and you gotta recover even faster. But we will fail. There's no way around that. Especially when you're getting into something that's, um, even when you have experience, even when you have the experience, but when we're getting into a new endeavor, a new, something like a business or whatever the case may be, you just have, and even once we're in it for many years, right? We're gonna fail. It's just part of learning, and there's a victory in learning, but we cannot have victory without the bitterness of defeat, or it's just. But I'm so glad you brought that up, man, because I do feel that, again, a lot of people are trying to, like, you know I don't know, kind of like, little league baseball, where everybody gets a trophy for participating, type of thing, right? Where we have the mentality where everything is good, nothing is bad, or whatever the case may be. And granted, that that helps people move forward. And hey, kudos to you, man. But I just have such a hard time adapting to that concept of, like, oh, failure is not real. This is not. Yeah, yeah. I failed miserably plenty of times, and it sucks. I've learned from it. I move forward, and now I'm, kind of doing something differently about that. You know what I mean? It has helped me grow, but without that failure, the lesson would have never come to me. So I'm glad you kind of have a very similar concept, man. So kudos to you, man. I like you, man. I like you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I like you too.
Thank you, man. Now, so let me ask you. So as far as, you're in a very, you're in a different side of the industry. So what is your ideal clientele per se?
Yeah, so I mean, ideal clientele, on the investors networking side, or not even the investors, really anybody in my network, are going to be people that, in a sense, understand, their side of, the business, their roles, do them well, and make my life easier. Or they have their sights set very well on what it is they want, what it is they need. They're a value-based, people, business, organization, whatever it may be. So it's sort of, I sort of have to be adaptable in this role. There's going to be a lot of investors looking for a lot of different things, and if I'm able to build great relationships with those people, one of the components to building those relationships is going to rely on me, finding what it is they like to invest in, finding the deals they want, because you know this is a give and take. relationship. When you're building a network, you don't want to be coming off as take,
Yeah.
time, information, insight. If, I learned a lot from an investor at that same meetup that we met at, and he is very focused on flipping deals in the North Shore. So one of the things I'm going to do to begin with is find him some deals, because I want to learn a lot about flipping from him. I want to learn a lot about investing in multifamily properties from him, and he will be a very valuable relationship long term. But the ideal client on the buyer's side of things, really anybody that I can help provide value to, that it's sort of, I guess, in a sense, constraining to limit myself, but we're focusing on a few different types of distress: people in foreclosure, people with fire damage. And as we, get our systems in place, people in place, agents in place, it'll grow, and we'll become experts in those different fields, because everyone's, trying to pull different lists in wholesaling, call different people, make offers, but they're not focused on building the relationship, becoming an expert in the field of distress that these people are in, that they need help through, they need guidance in. So, really anybody I can provide value to, and hopefully at some point I can, get value back from.
Now, so you kind of touched up on something that leads into my next question, which is, as it pertains to your clientele, right? You talked about, you know, the business that you're into is going to require that you're flexible, right? You have some flexibility. So aside from that, what do you feel is the most important variable in order for you to, I guess, expand your clientele, or to just grow the number of people that you're, just to expand your clientele?
Yeah. So, I think this often comes back to motivation, goals, but to find that sort of secret ingredient, the secret sauce to, what it is you need to succeed in business, really comes down to you. It's like, what do you want out of this? I know that I want a very strong network of people that I can invest in large multifamily commercial business deals in. I don't just want to flip homes, single family homes. I'll probably be doing that to get there at some point, to move my career along faster in some capacity. But what I really want is to have that ecosystem of people around me that I can call on at any point in time. I want to be able to, provide that value like I spoke about. But I know myself fairly well. I'm trying to learn more and more about myself all the time. But you're never gonna succeed unless you kind of find that version of yourself in the future. It's like, who do I want to become? What are my values today? They might change in the future, but what is it that I'm willing to do right now, to get me along further? So understanding yourself, your goals, and realistically what it is that you'd be happy doing, for the short term, the long term, because this is all a long term play for me. I no longer think what's gonna provide me value in the next 3 months, because I'm not worried about the financial gain of 3 months. I'm worried about the long term impact on my business, my partners, my network, my relationships, and really the ecosystem around me.
That's awesome, man. That's wow, good, man. And I think you're absolutely right. Having that, having that focus, you know, yeah, it's awesome, man. I'm glad that you've been able to kind of adapt, or at least adopt, not adopt that mindset that it's not always going to be about the short term play, or or the financial reward in the next couple of months. You have
Absolutely.
you have a much longer term long term thing, and that's, and again, that's going to require a lot of patience. It's going to require a lot of fortitude on your behalf. But if you
Yeah,
have the
no, and
mindset,
I'm grateful. I'm very grateful that I've been able to figure these things out. But I think people put a lot of stress on themselves to find these things out and have a plan, have an idea, have a goal. But but you're being too hard on yourselves.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get that all done. I'm 25. I've given up a lot to figure out these thoughts about myself, these ideas, this perception, and this understanding of myself. I've given up more than most people my age are probably comfortable giving up. And I don't advise that. It's not sustainable. I had a very bad crash and burn trying to learn about myself. When in reality, you can be tasting different things in the industry, whether it's real estate, sales, whatever it may be. There's ways to learn about yourself, taste different things over time, and play it the safe way. Because if I had gone back 5, 6 years, I probably would have done that, and I'd probably have learned a lot and been in a maybe more stable place entering this business. But yeah, it takes time, patience, energy for sure. Absolutely.
Now, so speaking of which, right, and again, you've kind of touched up on it as well too. What have been some of the most important or more valuable lessons that you've learned along the way? Because, like I said, even though you're young, you've compacted a lot of different business experiences and life experiences into your, to who you are. They've molded you, right? So, what have been some of the biggest lessons you've learned, throughout your journey from having your own business to now still having your own business, but kind of in a totally different industry? Like, how, what are some of the things you've learned along the way?
Yeah. So a few things that really caught me up early, and I've learned to become some of my biggest, I guess, motivation for getting work done, or whatever that may be, is the imperfect action that I was talking about. Nothing's ever going to play out in the most ideal way, and if it does, that's great. But if it doesn't, that's a pretty normal, pace of business. Things are never, going to be this ideal fantasy world, like people kind of push online. Like, I see a lot of people pushing online that they can start wholesaling. You can start making 20, 30, 40 grand a month. You can start closing deals. Well, that's great and
Do
all.
it.
That's
Let's do it, man. Let's
possible.
do it.
It only happens with that imperfect action.
Absolutely.
Uh, so the next thing would probably be, I guess, the confidence to ask for help. I didn't ask for help for the
Ah,
first year in my business, maybe 2 years. And when it got to the point where I was asking for help, when I was seeking people around me that I needed to, move forward as an individual, move forward as a business owner, a founder, I wasn't able to do that because I hadn't structured it that way. I didn't make it clear that I needed that assistance. And I basically told everybody around me I was going to put on all the hats and figure out the information I needed to. Now, working in such a mature industry, sorry, this camera's getting a little blurry here.
good.
Now, working in this very mature industry, there's so many people around you that it's almost foolish not to ask for help. If you need help analyzing a deal, getting through the process, I'm now able to contact dozens of people in my network that will happily do that because there's a great trade-off of value there. So yeah, imperfect action, asking for help when you need it, but that showing up, that imperfect action is really critical to getting started,
Absolutely.
and learning what you need to learn to get through those initial phases, because the start is the hardest part. It's always going to be.
And one thing that you said, having the confidence to ask for help, that's super crucial. But for me, even more importantly, is having the humility to ask for help. A lot of times we get caught up in trying to prove a point, or trying to prove who we are, or whatever the case may be, and that we make our lives a lot harder than they have to be by refusing to, like you said, we have colleagues in all industries, that will are willing to share the information, if they're, now, of course, there's some that are not, and that's fine. That's all good and dandy. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of people in our industry that are willing to share whatever they've learned, throughout their careers. with us, but we gotta be humble enough to be like, man, I really need help. Like I really need to. I'm kind of stuck on this, or I'm lost, or whatever,
Yeah,
whatever that is, you know.
absolutely. And I read a great book on this called Who Not How. I can't remember the writer, but
What's it
it's a
called
very
again?
Who Not How. It's a very
Oh,
powerful book on your network, understanding that there is somebody out there in pretty much every capacity that could probably answer the question you need answered or help you with the thing you need done. So when I look at my business uh, in the most basic terms, like who's going to do the calls, it's not me as the business owner. Well, I'm going to get on the phones and do my thing. I'm probably not going to be on the phones as much as I
yeah,
anticipated getting into this business. That was my start. That was my starting point, but that's an $8 an hour job. I can probably find some people that need that insight, that start. I can probably find some people in the Philippines, the VAs, wherever they may be, to take on that role so I can start working on my business.
that's awesome. But again, you got to have those conversations. You got to be humble enough to ask for the help, and then of course be humble enough to apply. You know the counsel that you're receiving. So you know that I'm glad that you said this. So now, what are some of the what are some of the resources, the most effective resources that have helped you so far? In your journey towards your new project, towards your new endeavor that you partaking in.
Yeah, so I think the thing that has really 10x my last business and my current projects now was consultants. And that might not be a very common answer. Some people might not be proud to say that, but I'm still new to business in a sense. I have 3-4 years of experience. I was always self-starter. I've never really had an office job, higher jobs with hierarchy. I was a server bartender for years, and I didn't learn much about business in that space. I didn't learn much about business going to school at night. So I needed these people to leverage their resources, their information, their knowledge to help me grow a business and get structured, because I'm not great with structure, or I wasn't, and I'm working on it. I wasn't great with organization. I wasn't, great at this oversight. But the more I spent time with my consultants, who went on to become partners of a business, the more I grew and the faster I was able to move. They really did take a huge weight off my shoulders of this lack of knowledge when I understood that I wanted to, succeed in business. I wanted to run my own business. I wanted to operate it. I wanted to learn all the inner workings of it, but I needed those people to get over that hurdle.
That's awesome, man, and you're right. It's one of those things where you know um, relying on others can be an effective resource. And like you said, I kind of like you. I'm not very good with organization. Am I as bad as I used to be? No, absolutely not. Uh, but I think that's a pretty common trait in a lot of us that are in sales, right? We're looking for that next. This is what we do. This is how we make a living. This is how we support our families and ourselves. And so, but again, knowing that, recognizing that, they're looking for ways to improve on that, and it's so
Yeah,
crucial.
and there's always going to be more ways to develop yourself, and really that was what the consultant was about. It's not like the one specific consultant made or break my business. It's not like this one consultant now is making or breaking my business. Really, it starts with me. So the more I know, the better, and learning from them is invaluable. But really, I think it sort of comes down to the support you have around you. Building a big business most often requires a good amount of hands on deck, people involved, experience. And I don't want to build an operation where I'm sort of running around, having to deal with all the paperwork, all the appointments. I want to be able to leverage other people's
Yeah,
time and
yeah,
trade off that knowledge that I've gained over these last few years, and help everybody win. But to even go one step further, there's so many resources. There's consultants. There's content online. I've purchased courses. I've learned from them. I've moved past them and thought, why did I purchase that course? But at the time I needed that information. So it's really about what you're willing to learn, what you're willing to do to get to the next phase in your business, your life, whatever it may be.
Absolutely, man. Now, of course, we've talked a lot. We talked a little bit about your business and your, and what you're doing to kind of expand on that. But outside of what you do for business, right? So, even how what do you do? What do you like to do? What are your hobbies? What are your fan? I know you mentioned earlier when we were off camera about family and how your weekends are. So talk to me about that. What are you outside of your business setting?
Yeah. So for many years, I played sports in high school. I played a little in college. Nothing crazy, no club sports, but I like to focus really on myself, time with my family, my girlfriend, and staying active. Uh, One of my favorite things to do, and is becoming a sort of growing habit in my life, is yoga, meditation. I try to work out as much as I can, 1 to 2 hours a day, 4 or 5 days a week, with a lot of focus on stretching, and just being present in the moment, because I haven't done that. So a lot of what I do is really focusing again on myself, and what I'm doing, because I for so long I struggled with who I was, the being my real self, and not just putting on a mask, and I guess abiding to what I thought people would like about me. So yeah, I try to stay active. I try to focus on my mind, my body, my soul. I love playing sports, golf, basketball, whatever it is. Sign me up and I'll be there.
That's all great because believe it or not, I'm a big sports fan too. Um, so I try to get into golf, and I am going to get into golf even more now. It seems like everybody's playing golf. I mean,
Yeah, no, great networking tool.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Absolutely. Um, and but like that's one of the things that I need to get back into as well. I used to play a lot of basketball, baseball. Like I'm a huge Sox fan. Although we've been kind of inconsistent the last couple of weeks, but but things like that. Now, do you think that kind of focusing on that aspect, just kind of just hanging out, whatever, with your girlfriend, with your family, working out, the yoga, all these things. Um, do you think then that kind of helps? You know, how does that translate into success in your business, or do you think it has any correlation at all?
Yeah, I was a big believer in hustle, the grind for so long, and I think it's actually sort of backwards. Like, hustle culture is in many ways extremely toxic to a lot of people, because people can't live up to these expectations of working 60, 70, 80 hours a week,
Yeah,
and balancing their life. It's it becomes a lot easier when you love your work, which I love doing, which is what I love about real estate. Like, I love doing this. I love these processes. I love the people. I love the community. So it's easy, but I need that time away. I need that downtime. And even if I can only hit that 40, 50, maybe even 60 hours a week for work, whatever my capacity may be, taking that time away is an investment again in myself. If you're not taking time to enjoy the things around you, find that fulfillment, if it's not from work specifically,
yeah,
then it's going to be really hard to stay happy. And like, who are you if you're not happy? You're a shell of a person. And if you are running a business and you're not finding any fulfillment, happiness, enjoyment in what you're doing, you're setting yourself up for failure. And that's what I did unknowingly. And it was, sort of one of my vows, to never do again. When I entered this business, I was going to focus on myself. I was going to focus on my time away from business, my relaxation, making sure I was in a good mental place. And I think
absolutely.
that's all, that's what my weekends are about. People tell me real estate's hard. You got to work long weekends. I argue, if I can't work the weekend because I need to focus on myself, then real estate is going to have to wait.
It's actually amazing that you say that. So I'm a lot older than you are. All right. And one thing that I learned pretty much this year is that, you know, time away is absolutely crucial. Um, because I know some folks who are successful business people, uh, that I look up to, honestly, that I really look up to them from a business standpoint. I look up to them. Yet they have miserable family lives. They're absolutely miserable. Okay. And then I know some people who are, I'm not saying I don't want to be, and again, I don't want to like down talk on anyone, but who live in very humble, you know, a very humble means. They live humbly. So I would never aspire to be them like financially. Yet they have the most incredible, life as a family. So of course, with us, you mentioned the word hustle. You know, I'm the same way. Like I'm always in my mind is always like I'm always in the hustle. I'm always trying to how can I grow my business? How can I, how can I do better as an insurance agent? How can I be a better resource for, the realtors that I work with, the loan officers, the attorneys, like I'm always in that almost in that mindset. But a few months ago, the family and I went to Myrtle Beach for a week. And I completely disconnected that entire week. And I got to tell you, it was the most incredible. It was one of the most incredible weeks of my life because at the end of the day, I needed that time off, and so did my family, right? So I think it's, and then I came back and I was like, oh, ready to, get back into the grind of things and figure some things out. But the point is that at the end of the day, man, we were, you know, it's great to that work life balance, and of course, I think us, and I can kind of see that in you as well. We are always going to lean towards the work, right? That's naturally, like that's gonna be our natural impulse to kind of go towards the work, and then we have to make a concerted and conscientious effort to be like, no, we need to kind of lean more towards life because at the end of the day, you know, life is important, as well.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you brought that up, the work-life balance, because this is sort of uh, one of my main focuses in life, really. I truly do believe that work-life balance is almost not a thing. If you're not working on something you don't enjoy, and work takes up most of your life, how are you supposed to find balance? And
Exactly.
if you have to do that work, if it is essential to getting to that next phase or chapter in your life, getting you to where you want to go, then how are you going to do something outside of work that keeps you in balance? How are you going to, feed off of this to take that next step? Because I tried to balance this 60, 70, 80-hour schedule with school, and while I was in a relationship, and it took a toll on my life. And I realized I wasn't enjoying the process. I wasn't enjoying the work. And until I cut that off out of my life, which is at the end of the day why I left my business, I was never going to find balance. It was not part of the equation. So it all really comes back to knowing yourself, understanding who you are, what you're capable of, what you want to do. And, a lot of questions will answer themselves. It's not like I sit around thinking about these questions all day. But the more I try to grow, understand myself, develop my perspective, these things come to me naturally. It's sort of like the law of attraction. I'm trying to find balance in my
There you
life,
go.
and balance comes to me. And I think that's something that so many young entrepreneurs, people in these industries, uh, really aren't told or showed, because it doesn't sell in a sense.
And it's unfortunate because that's how you have burnout, and then you have which is which is counterproductive, and it steers you in the wrong direction of growth, and obviously, financial stability and all that. It completely takes you the other way. You know, draws you away from it when you're burnt out. Now, you mentioned the book earlier, "Who Not How," and I guess that leads me into like the last question here. So, like, so any of the books that you read or that you're reading that have helped you, you know, kind of get to where you are now?
Yeah. So, one of my favorites is Can't Stop Me by David Goggins. He is a Marine. He was in the, he was in the Navy SEALs. He experienced a very traumatic life. And, the way he looks at life in general is using the failures, the things that you go through as tools to build a more powerful version of yourself in anything you do, and using your experiences to grow from. He had probably one of the most traumatic lives I've ever seen, and this man was able to accomplish incredible things, run ultra marathons with a heart condition, get through Navy SEAL training Hell Week multiple times. But yeah, I guess finding books on questions that you need answers to in yourself, maybe not even just your business, because I've read a ton of business books and I can make a ton of recommendations. But what really is fulfilling for me is finding the things that get me through what I'm going through in a similar sense. I've dealt with a lot of trauma personally in my mind, and I was unable to uh, you know, overcome those things until I opened up my perspective and understood that people like him, other people around the world are going through way worse than me. They're struggling a lot, and I'm here sitting in a very nice neighborhood, in a very ideal position in my life, time in my life, complaining. Like, where does that get me? So, Can't Stop Me is great. Who Not How. Um, there's some other great ones I'm blanking on, but
Right.
I'm
Right.
sure I'm sure I can provide you a little list and we can link it somewhere.
No, but so the thing is, so the reason why I say that is because I used to be a very avid reader. I used to read a lot, back in the day, and of course, like it's not an excuse. It's certainly not an excuse, but life gets in the way, and just things, So you kind of lose the habit of doing so. And then recently, I decided to, you know what? No, like reading has to be an important part of what I do, because in order for me to give to others, I also have to fill myself, right? That's very, it's common sense. And
Absolutely.
I get to one book that has really changed a lot, like my perspective, and I recommend it to everybody. And I'm gonna send you a copy if you haven't read it. It's called "The Obstacle Is the Way." Um, have you heard of that book before?
No, but by the title, I feel like that'd be right up my alley.
And dude, I mean, it has to do with business because it does. Don't get me wrong, um, but it's really more about mental fortitude, attitude, how we look at obstacles in our way, how we look at failure, which we spoke about earlier. You know, dude, it is such a great book. It is such a great book. I've read it twice in the last 6 months. I've taken a ton of notes on it, and so this is what I'm reading now. Actually, it's the same author. Ego is the enemy, and just started like I've only read like the first 5 pages, but I can tell you it's a great. It's gonna be another great book. But I think like to your point, a lot of doing these things, man, that don't necessarily have to do with business, because there's plenty of business books we can read, and there's something wrong with that. I do read business books too, but I think you know I'm more focused on mind frame, mindset type of literature, because if I can take those lessons that I learned from that and apply them to my business, dude, it's something. It's I'm good. We're gonna win more often than like that's just the way. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, and I went down the list of the business books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
Yeah,
all of them,
great
the
book.
Million
Great
Dollar
book.
Real Estate Agent, whatever it may be. But I didn't retain much of that information because, I wasn't really approaching it with a very strategic way. So the way I like to pick books now is really focused on my weaknesses or even my strengths that need development. And I find something that I'll be able to learn from, even if it's one little golden nugget in that book. I'm very good at implementing change in my life when it's necessary, when it'll develop myself, my person. And yeah, that's really what I think people should be looking to do with books. Open their perspective, understand the mindset of business people, people writing these books, these world-renowned books, and getting inside their head, leveraging their knowledge.
Absolutely, man. Well, listen, man. So lastly, how can people, best contact you, reach out to you, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can contact me on Instagram at Eamon Keane. I'm sure we'll drop a link for my email. It's contact@firstcallhouses.com. But we got a number of different businesses, and the way we're going to interact with agents, investors, sellers, there's going to be a plethora of options. So if you have anything you want to know about real estate, if you want to get involved in real estate, if you're already working on real estate, want to understand wholesaling, working with investors, however I can provide value, please reach out. And yeah, we'll probably drop some links somewhere, I'm sure. And yeah, I really appreciate it, Jose. This has been a great experience, first podcast, and I'm sure we'll be talking again real soon.
Now, well, hey man, I gotta tell you, man, I am extremely, first of all, grateful for you to take time out of your day, to do this and to, a lot of times we go to these events and we meet people and, everybody's good, and then after that, it's hard to follow up and it's hard to, and I'm so glad that we actually made the effort to follow up and to do this. But more importantly, bro, like seriously, I'm really, really impressed with just the way you are, your mentality with a couple of different things, man. And I commend you. Like I said earlier, kudos to your parents, man. They did an awesome job, obviously, and kudos to you, bro. Honestly, you're an exceptional young man, and I'm like I said, you already are doing, crazy things, great things, and that's gonna continue just because you're just that kind of person, man. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, for doing this, man. And we will definitely be in touch, all right, brother?
Yeah. I'm thinking about launching my own podcast, so you already know I'm going to need an insurance agent or two on there.
Well, there you go, my brother. Hit me up, all right, man?
Alrighty. Take care, Jose.
Be good, man.